Hi guys, let's talk about color. Our objectives are understand basic color theory and demonstrate technical skill in mixing hues, tints, tones, and shades. Our words worth knowing is color. Color is the element of art produced when light striking an object is reflected back to the eye. To see color, you have to see light. So let's get into a little bit of color theory, but first, why do artists use color? They use color to depict color in space and nature, to create decorative beauty, to help convey mood and feelings, and also to evoke an emotional response in the viewer. So when you start understanding color a little bit more, you can use it to make whatever artistic creative effect that you'd like. Our three descriptions of color are hue, value, and intensity or chroma, which is how bright or saturated the color is. So hue is just simply another word for the color name. So red, blue, yellow, violet, green. So if I say the color red or the hue red, that means the same thing. Value is how light or dark a color is. To create different values, a tint is a color plus white to make a lighter value. A shade is a color plus black to make a darker value. And then a tone is color plus gray, or the complement, and that makes a muted value, a little bit more gray in the middle. So here's an example of a color wheel, and then the hues, tints, tones, and shades on the left. And then on the right, when you take your yellow, when you add white, it creates that light tint. When you create gray, it kind of tones it down, makes it more of a middle value. Then when you add black, it makes it darker into a shade. Chroma or intensity is how intense, bright a color is, how saturated or pure it is. So think paint right out of the tube, no adding anything to it, is very, very saturated and bright. It's also known as chroma, so saturation, intensity, chroma, those are all different ways to say the same thing. So think of those really bright, rich colors. So a way to tone a color down, make it less intense, is to add the complement, which is the color across from the color wheel. So red and green are opposites. When you mix them together, you get this neutral. It tones it down. Same with violet and yellow. When you mix them together, it tones it down. So the painter's color wheel. So this is the color wheel that primarily painters use. There are other ones, but we're going to stick with this one. This is the one you probably learned about in elementary school. So we have primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. Our primary colors, think primary first. Our primary colors are the colors from which all the other colors on this color wheel are created. And those are red, blue, and yellow. So think primary, first colors, red, blue, yellow. Secondary colors are created by mixing two primary colors together. So think secondary second. These are the colors that come second after primaries. So green, which is blue and yellow mixed together. Orange, which is red and yellow mixed together. And then violet, which is blue and red mixed together. Tertiary colors are created by mixing one of the primaries, red, blue, and yellow, and one of the secondary colors, green, orange, violet, together. And the names of these colors are just those two color names put together. So yellow green, yellow orange, red violet, and blue green. So instead of having to write these whole names out, you can easily abbreviate the names with the initials. So like YG for yellow green, YO for yellow orange, red O for red orange. You kind of get the idea. So you can just use the two initials of the names. So for our color practice, we are going to create a practice painter's color wheel. You're going to create a tint tones shades chart. So you're going to choose one hue, just one hue. I have a bunch of examples in class. And then you're going to create the tint tone shade chart. You're going to need to mix a gray for your tone. I can help you. You want to do a bunch of white with a tiny bit of black, but I'll get into that later. And then there's a bonus for early finishers, to a 20 color challenge. So using your primaries and your black and white, create 20 unique colors on the sheet. And I also have an example of that. When you're done with these, please check off when you are finished before moving on. And just some tips before you get started, because mixing colors can get a bit complicated. Color the paints on the color wheel in order. So if you start with blue, you can go add red to make violet, make blue violet, make red, have red, then make red violet. So start with the same ones in that area and work your way around. Don't go trying to make yellow orange and then blue violet and then red orange. Just try to stick with the wheel and just follow the wheel around. When you mix tints, so remember tints is the lighter value, you need more white than the color. White is not very powerful, so if you're making a tint of blue, take a blob of white and add a tiny bit of blue to it. Don't take blue and add white, because you'll just be constantly adding white to it to get it lighter. Mixing tones, it's about half gray, half the color. Then mixing shades. This is where you want more of the color than black. Use the black sparingly because it is powerful. Use a dot, not a lot. So if you're making a darker blue, you're going to have a blob of more blue and you're just going to add a little touch of black to it. And you might need to add a little more, but start with the color. When you're mixing your tertiary hues on your color wheel, you want to start with that primary and then add your other color, your secondary color, a small amount at a time. So if you're going from blue to violet, you're going to take your blue and you're going to add a little bit of red, a little more, and you're just going to go around that wheel like I said earlier. All right, I can't wait to get you guys started, and I think you'll have a good time doing this. This is one of my favorite things to do, is mixing color. Good job.